problem is change in weather patterns is affecting climate severely. Heat waves and drought are occurring more in certain places. Rainfall has increased a lot. Causes are pollution, human activity, drought, flood, and more tropical storm activity, increase in precipitation, and increase in temperature. In Massachusetts, the average temperature has risen more than 2 degrees Fahrenheit, and since the temperature has changed so much, it causes spring to come early, which can cause heavy rainfall, and other impacts are intense storms, more precipitation, causes sea levels to rise, and increased temperature and heat waves. And if you look over at Massachusetts, it's increased like 50% over the years.
Some coastal impacts on climate change. What is climate change and how does it affect the coast? Climate change is mainly caused by humans burning greenhouse gases, which leads to increased concentration of gas in the atmosphere, creating global warming. Some damage to the coasts, such as hurricanes and flooding, has negative impacts on the economy and civilizations along beach areas and towns on the water. Some impacts on climate change, coastal, economic, and development impact. Climate destroys property and makes real estate uninhabitable, while property losses potentially affect local businesses, causing them to lose money or potentially go bankrupt. Many indigenous peoples among these coastal communities are vulnerable to climate change and lose houses and places to live on the coast. Some local impacts can be flooding, erosion, and sea level rise. By 2100, the state could see 4 to 10 feet of sea level rise. Sea level rise will continue to increase coastal flooding and erosion along the Massachusetts coastline, threatening beaches and economy as we know it. High tide flooding is already forcing some East Coast cities to install costly pump stations to frequently clear floodwaters from the streets. And that is a costly pump station from the XL Food Group, and there's a graph down there showing sea level rise increasing from 1900 to 2020.
Fishing industry impacting climate change. What is the issue? Commercial fishing is harming countless marine species and habitats. Equipping boats can be the biggest threat to our oceans. Oceans are used as one of our largest dumping grounds. Ocean pollution and habitat destruction are causing fish to lose their lives. Equipping boats is harming animals' habitats. People dumping trash into the ocean is leading animals to getting stuck and suffocating. It is also putting pollution in our water, which is also harming the marine life. So this is a turtle that is harmed, and then this is ocean pollution, plastic pollution. How does it connect to our local area? Commercial fishing professionals work as part of a crew on fishing boats. They send lobsters and oysters to Massachusetts. Smart boat fisheries equipping boats with powerful digiting tools could be targeting the biggest threat to our oceans. This is how much plastic pollution is in the water.
So, for some causes for climate change, that can be pollution and emissions. And climate change and pollution, and especially air pollution, have like a very interconnected relationship. And as more air pollutants and greenhouse gases are released, this alters the energy balance between the atmosphere and the Earth's surface, which leads to global warming. And what causes pollution can be stuff like vehicle emissions, fuel oils, natural gas to heat homes, byproducts of manufacturing and power generation, particularly coal-fueled power plants, and fumes from chemical production are the primary sources of human-made air pollution. The biggest contributors of air pollution are from industry sources and power plants to generate power, as well as fossil fuel motor vehicles. And the graph shows us like where a lot of man-made pollution comes from. You can see the biggest one's transportation because of fossil fuels and stuff. And how it connects to our area in Massachusetts. Air pollution remains a silent killer in Massachusetts, responsible for an estimated 2,780 deaths a year and for measurable cognitive loss in Bay State children. The average level of fine particulate pollution across Massachusetts in 2019 60.3 micrograms per cubic meter, and levels ranged from a low of 2.77 micrograms per cubic meter in Worcester County to a high of 8.26 in Suffolk County. And this image just shows, like, it explains how many deaths there are, some of the causes, and how, like, air pollution relates to that.
Alright, so the economic impacts of climate change are natural disasters that are caused by climate change are costing the government like hundreds of billions of dollars each year. I'm pretty sure it was $408 billion as of 2019. And as temperature rise, the national GDP goes down, or gross domestic product, which is basically just the amount of money a whole product makes after going through all the transportation. And finally, the global economy could lose 10% of its total economic value by 2050 to climate change. Now, 2050 may seem far, but it's only 25 years. 25 years ago was 2000, so it's pretty close. Why this is happening is because storms cause damage to lots of property, leading to higher costs. If a school's damaged or a hospital's damaged, the government needs to fix that so people can live their life well. Higher temperatures make it easier for heat strokes to occur, making work hard. That's why product goes down, because it takes people a lot more effort to work, so they need more money for them to do that work. And finally, as water temperatures increase, water quality is suffering due to more algae blooms, which makes it toxic. Water is one of the biggest products in the whole world. Everyone needs water. Everything needs water. So if people can't have that, it's gonna make the whole economy go down. Oh, that's just a scan of how much the GDP has gone up and down. The red is it's gone down a lot, and the blue is how high it's gone. So the local impacts is, well, high heat impacts people's ability to work and make a living. Now, this was on the global one, but it's a lot closer to Massachusetts because when you have high heat, it's harder for workers to work, and that's kind of why house prices rise so high, because you need people to work, and they can't do it unless they have higher paychecks. Increased flooding and climate-driven relocation makes buildings also more expensive because they have to make them stronger so they don't fall to a simple storm. And finally, by 2030, up to 2,500 households could experience 0.5% or more of expected annual damage to structures from flooding. So kind of like the last one, only this time, since Massachusetts is known to be like a colder climate, with global warming, it's getting warmer and warmer, and we're not really adapt to all that. So if we're getting things that we're not used to, like lots of tornadoes and stuff, that's why we need to make the houses stronger for floods and stuff. So that's what makes the whole housing expensive. And that's just a temperature change throughout the past 3 years, with red being obviously a lot hotter. So in summary, climate change is affecting all of us, whether it be physically, mentally, or financially. And it's affecting Massachusetts in particular by creating more intense weather, rising sea levels, hurting strong New England industries, hurting New England air quality, and destroying structures. As you see, that's just a map showing how much New England has had to pay for all of the climate disasters. Now, but we have a plan to stop it, and here it is.
Our plan to stop it is Pastries Against Pollution.
So our main goal is to help clear pollution out of the Boston Harbor. And so our idea to do that would to hold a bake sale to raise money to fund an organization called Save the Harbor, whose main goal is to help the Boston Harbor. We would be renting out the Shelbourne Community Center because it is local, and we would be using it as a venue and partnering with Commonwealth Kitchen to help. It will be held on a weekend from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and we would split around 60% of the profits. All the proceeds not received by the businesses themselves will be donated to Save the Harbor. Our money to set up for the event will be received by GoFundMe, donations, and hopefully if we can secure a grant from the state Congress.
Alright, so here's the outline of the logistics. This is just a picture of Shelbourne Community Center. So we need to talk to Save the Harbor, the organization. so we can actually have an organization to donate to that saves the harbor. And we need to partner with Commonwealth Kitchen so we can actually get food. Now Commonwealth Kitchen partners with a bunch of local industries, so it'll help the whole community. We need lots of advertising so people know that the bake sale's happening, and we need to set up a GoFundMe so we can get money to set up the venue. Hopefully we can get like a couple $100. It'd be awesome if we could get like 1,000, but we need to use the Shelburne Community Center. No, it's not in the town of Shelburne, which is way far away. It's actually in Boston, so it's close to the harbor. We need to use it so we have a place to hold the bake sale. And finally, we need to get in touch with Save the Harbor after the bake sale to see how much profit is made and to see how much garbage has been extracted out of the water. So for logistics, here are the permits and licenses we need. We need a faculty use permit so we can use the facility. We need a transient vendor license so we can take the food from one place to another. And we need a hawker and peddler license so we can actually sell food. So for the faculty use, we need to talk to Shelburne Community Center and Boston City Council. For the transient vendor license, we need to fill out an application for a permit form. And for the hawker and peddler license, we need to complete an application form on mass.gov. Pretty much the same application process as the hawker and peddler license form. So the total time this should take is about 5 months, give or take one. So first we have to start up our GoFundMe to help the bake sale actually start. So that should take about 1 week. We need to apply for a grant from the state government. We need to talk to Save the Harbor and set a fundraising goal. We need to contact Shelburne Town Hall to apply for a faculty use permit and apply for a hawker and peddler license and a transient vendor license, and partner with Commonwealth Kitchen, talk to them about splitting the profit, talk to the restaurant about what goods to serve, which in total should take about 4 months, but we'll give ourselves an extra month just in case something goes wrong.
Government organizations. We will be asking Boston Centers for Youth Families to help us by letting us use their community center to hold our bake sale. They should help us because we provide baked goods for not a high price, so whoever goes there has the ability to get a little food. They are also native to Boston and close to Boston Harbor, which is where we're trying to help.
And for outreach and engagement, we can, I have created a flyer here, which we could post around the Boston Harbor area, just to inform people of the time and the date and when it's happening, what it's for, and just general information on the bake sale. And we can put it in relevant locations around Boston. We could create social media accounts on like Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram. Hopefully we could just get people who might not be in Boston and might not be able to show up to the sale, but hopefully we could be able to redirect them to Save the Harbor so they could actually donate. And if we could post a flyer on the Save the Harbor website and maybe inform the people on their the organization's email list, so the people who are actually involved and are more likely to donate would actually know more about it.
Our budget is $1,300, and we are gonna get a color printer ink, white cardstock, our social media budget, 3-pack beeswax paper, 2 licenses, and renting out the community center. And after buying all the necessary items, we will have about $150 left to buy any last minute things we need.
Some potential problems and solutions we might have or run into would be weather and licenses, problem with licenses. If the weather gets stormy or rains unexpectedly, that would be a problem, obviously, and to prevent this, we can reschedule if we find the forecast unfavorable. If the forecast claims it will be clear skies, yet it rains anyway, we can go indoors into the community center. And some obtaining licenses, we need to display a proper need and use for the permit and show how we use it appropriately and for its purpose.
This is our work study.
Me and Emily
made like 50 copies of it. I probably have one left.
Anybody have any questions?